Welcome to this year's 2021 Online Macrobiotic Summer Conference. I am really happy to see all of you. It's so wonderful to see all of you, and I wish we could all meet in person. I mean, we could just, go like this and be together for a moment and join each other's energy. But once again, I mean, for many people, it simply is easier to be online. And of course, there is still a question on how safe it is, or all the traveling, etc. So online is a good choice for right now. But we have a lot of wonderful things coming up this week. We will tell you more. And Alex?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Jack, and Bettina and I are co-hosts for the conference. On behalf of Planetary Health, the sponsor of this event, I'd like to welcome you. I think many of you are familiar with our organization. It started 20 years ago, so we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this summer. And we started in California trying to preserve natural rice from genetic engineering and Monsanto. And over the years, we've been involved in many social action projects like that related to organic natural farming. We've done publishing, and after the Kushi Institute closed, we took over the Macrobiotic Summer Conference, and we have some advanced training programs. We're doing a film, which you'll hear about later this evening. We do publishing, and anyway, we're tirelessly active pretty much all year round with many events and activities. And we're delighted to see all of you this evening.
All right, so let me start, and I will now, a second here. And people are still joining the conference. Okay, so I would like to start with a few things of housekeeping, so to speak. Of course, in general, for any of the sessions, I would ask you when you come in, especially if you come in late, to mute yourself so that other people will not be hearing interference when a presentation is already going on. And for those of you that are joining the conference, the whole conference, or even other days, other sessions, there is a new Zoom link for every day, but the Zoom links generally are good for the whole day. And we are not having a new Zoom link for each session. So it's each day that we have a new Zoom link. Recordings will be available generally after the conference, and of course the recording from this session today here will be available probably very soon, and it's open to anybody, but the other recordings will be available to those that have signed up. The only sessions that will not be recorded during the conference are the discussion sessions, the open discussion sessions. So, and somebody please mute yourself. There's somebody who's speaking on the phone. Okay. So so that the recordings, the open discussion sessions in the conference are really available for anything to be discussed without being censored and without being afraid that anybody later on can view it who may not have been part of that discussion. So let's see what else. Zoom links for the following day will usually be sent out the evening, in the previous evening around 8 o'clock. And if you haven't opened it, then they will be resent the next morning. And if you have technical difficulties, I don't know what to tell you. That is a little bit tricky. You know, if you have technical difficulties with Zoom, please call Zoom, because I don't know all that much about it either, other than basically being able to use it. But a few things, like if you, and on my computer it's on the right upper corner, you can choose to make the view speaker view or gallery view, unless, like right now, I have a view for everybody, so that you know, you probably can't change that, but once that is not assigned anymore, you can switch it back between gallery or speaker view. Also, in order to improve the audio quality of your listening to the sessions, you can, what is it, go to video audio. Let's see. You can go to where the microphone icon is. If you click on that, the bottom setting has audio settings. And if you can click on audio settings, there is a possibility to suppress background noise, so that you listen to the sessions more clearly. That might also be helpful for you to know. Okay, I think that is all that I have in terms of the things that we need to discuss about housekeeping. And let me just see here, anything else that I need to attend to right now? Anybody saying anything? No, I think we're good. Okay, so let's look at the schedule real quick, because that is the next thing. Alex, was there anything else before we go to the next item?
I think, Bettina, maybe we should mute everyone except the speakers, because there's been a lot of ambient background noise.
All right. People are still coming in. Give me a second here. Okay. So Alex, you will have to unmute yourself, because that has to be. Okay. So now everybody is muted. And again, if you come in late, please mute yourself. We really do appreciate that. And okay, so let me share my screen to look at the schedule real quick. Let's see where. Give me 1 second. Let's do that again. Can you see that, Alex?
Yes.
Okay. So I think everybody who's here should have received the schedule in the first email that I sent out. So that schedule, should be there. If you don't have it, please refer to the Macrobiotic, the online Macrobiotic Summer Conference page. Go to schedule. It is also available there. Or if you have misplaced the schedule, but we will, go over detailed now a little bit on what is going to happen. And actually, for a moment before we go through this, let me also say what we will talk about next, because we will also, so we will share about the different sessions that are coming up, and we have a lot of wonderful sessions coming up. And then we will have both Alex and I will have a short presentation about 9-star key. And where is my schedule? Let me see.
Yeah, then Sherry Demaris will give a brief description of our film project, The Spirit of Rice, and show the new teaser for the film, which was just completed today. It's very, very exciting.
Very good. All right, so let's talk about the schedule. So tomorrow morning we will have Oliver Calmedo, and he will be speaking on the emotional causes of disease. And as many of you have seen last year, he's an excellent speaker and has a lot of valuable things to say, and is and has been very active in the macrobiotic community for many, many years from the UK. And so I'm happy to have him join us again this year. And yeah, he will be there. And right after that, he has actually another course that he's teaching himself at his school in the UK. So he won't be able to join other sessions because he's teaching his own course.
Right, and that will be followed by Bettina giving a presentation on Golden Dream Kitchen, talking about some of the recipes in her new cookbooks, the Golden Dream cookbook. So not to be missed.
Yeah, thank you. And then we will have the open discussion sessions with Donna, this time with Donna and Mark, and also Cynthia Van will at the very beginning give a short, like 15-minute presentation on, let me see here, oops, that's the wrong one.
She'll be talking about EMFs, electromagnetic fields. And she's kind of our major investigative reporter for Amber Waves, which is our seasonal journal. And she's written many, many articles on 5G, on the effect of cooking with electric, on cell towers. Anyway, any questions you might have or concerns about EMFs or electronic devices or gadgets, she'll be able to address those.
Very good. And then in the afternoon session, and of course, I mean, there's open discussion also at lunch. So for the rest of the time, it will just be whatever is important for you to discuss. And when there's nobody to discuss anymore, the session will be closed. So. But in the afternoon, Loribel Lopez from Puerto Rico will be joining us with a Puerto Rican summer picnic. And again, some of you might remember from last year, she has done a wonderful conference, a wonderful presentation last year at the summer conference. And so we're excited to see her join us again.
Yeah, then at 4 o'clock, Virginia Harper will be talking about children's gut health. Virginia, she's here this evening. She's one of our top dynamic teachers, counselors, and authors in the macrobiotic community. And she'll be one of the Michokushi Peace Prize winners this year. We'll be having a ceremony, and she'll be giving the keynote address on Sunday afternoons. So we're really delighted to have Virginia with us throughout the conference.
And then after that, we will have on all days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 5:30 to 6 o'clock, Kripalu Yoga with Evelyn Gonzalez. And she has been, with Kripalu since basically almost the inception. So for a long, long time, she's a long time yoga teacher and student, and excellent teacher. And actually, she is also sort of my neighbor. So she is going to join us to teach. And then we have another open discussion session with Donna and Mark, Donna Clifford and Mark Leonas. Any questions, comments, etc., that may be desired to be discussed can be discussed at that time. And
yeah, then in the evening, Michael Rossoff will be talking about the 2 pillars of health. Michael is a longtime macrobiotic teacher and counselor in the Washington, D.C. area, and he's an acupuncturist, and he directed a School of Oriental Medicine. So he has several modalities, and very, very informative. I always enjoy his lectures.
yeah. And if you have seen the YouTube, he has also talked on the YouTube preview of the teachers about his class, and perhaps we can a little later look at that for a moment, but I think we will go over the schedule first, and then we'll look at that if we have time. So then that will conclude Thursday, and then on Friday morning at 9, we will be joined by Tarika and Manjari from India, and they will be showing us recipe from India, flavors of India, and they also have been longtime macrobiotic, Tarika has been a longtime macrobiotic student and then teacher, and having a center for a long time at Manjari has been helping her with the center for quite a while now. So they have been very active, and of course I get to look at everybody's recipes, and they look really good. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, and then at 11 o'clock on Friday morning, Bill Terra will be talking about something fishy. This way comes. Bill, I think many of you know, is really one of the icons in the macrobiotic community. He was a founder of the Kushi Institute, and he now lives in London with his wife, who is Scottish. They kind of alternate for our lectures and seminars. She's quite a force in her own right. And anyway, they're quite committed vegans, or at least vegan macrobiotics. So it'd be interesting to talk about environmental and health problems, as well as personal ethical problems related to eating fish and seafood.
And then we have another open discussion session at lunch, this time with Judy and Larry McKenney, who are also here this evening. And we're really thrilled also to have them join us. And at the beginning of the open discussion session, Rich Myers will also talk about EMFs. He has joined us at previous conferences. He has been with the military for a long time, but has been retired, but so has a lot of inside knowledge and a lot of detailed knowledge that he wishes to share for a short time of that discussion session.
Yeah. And then in the afternoon, Sachi Kato will be giving a cooking class on the wonderful world of koji fermentation. I think she's going to be making amasaki from scratch. So that should be very exciting. Sachi is a wonderful teacher, counselor, and chef. and we together wrote the One Peaceful World Cookbook. Basically, it's her recipes and my writing, but anyway, it's she's a great cook, so always exciting to see her.
Great. And then at 4 p.m. on Friday, we will see David Briscoe on minimizing acidity, maximizing alkalinity for stronger immunity. And of course, immunity is still a factor that we are looking at these days. So very important dynamic that is going on. And David, of course, is a longtime teacher. And by the way, we did make a mistake, we did not add to the auction that was sent out an item that he had sent in a session with him and Cynthia, and you can, we will highlight that later, and also you can view it on our Macrobiotic Summer Conference
website.
Conference website, right?
Yeah. And then in the evening after the open discussion with Judy and Larry, I'll be giving a presentation on the 7 golden dimensions of life, kind of introducing a paradigm, the elements of which we're all very familiar, but it's basically looking from the microbiome to what I call the macrobiome, looking at the infinite universe and all of its many manifestations, including many discoveries I've made over the last year.
And then that takes us into Saturday. And on Saturday morning, again, we're going international, and we have Maria and Vladimir Ivanov from Russia. And Maria, also known as Masha, is, of course, Alex's daughter, and her husband and their family, they live in Russia. And they will share about Russian farm to table or Russian family cooking.
Yeah, and then at 11 in the morning on Saturday, Ganat Rice will be presenting. Very sadly, Ganat's husband, Sheldon, I think many of you know, passed away this week. So we hope she'll be able to attend, but if not, we can understand. She'll be talking about learning to feel, diagnosing and mastering the emotions. I think she'll be introducing some of her palm reading techniques. Anyway, she's mastered several different skills, and so we're looking forward to her presentation.
And then during the lunch hour, which will be hosted by Donna and Mark, we also have a short presentation by a guest from Greece. And his topic is Macrobiotic Cooks of the World project. And he actually sent me a preview of that topic, and it was many slides, so I asked him actually to comprise it a little bit, because otherwise I'm sure it would take up the whole lunch hour. So, but I think he is very, very enthusiastic about that, and I think from that perspective we can get, a whole new influx of energy from a different country, and also a new perspective through him on what is going on in Greece and what he has in mind with that project.
Yeah. And then later in the afternoon, Christina Perello will be talking about post-pandemic wellness. I think many of you know Christina. She is the host of Christina Cooks, which is the television show, a long-running Emmy award-winning show. She's one of the funniest people I know. She's totally hilarious, and sometimes her husband Robert participates, and anyway, not to be missed. Really amazing.
And after that, of course, Donna, who will also be hosting some of the open discussion forums, but has been also teaching macrobiotics at the Kushi Institute, and she will be joining us for a presentation on happy sleep. Donna is a nurse, and you can see her here, Donna C. Thank you. And Donna, has a lot of always really well-researched information, but also information that actually has what I would say hand and foot, meaning it actually works. So it's great to have her. Then we'll have, of course, another session of yoga and another open discussion session with Judy and Larry.
Yeah, and in the evening, Edward Esco, who's one of our colleagues here with Planetary Health, will be talking about coming of age in the age of light. So he'll be, I guess, contrasting the future world with our current age of darkness. And again, many of his most recent discoveries in his new book, Light Food.
And that takes us to the next day and will be followed with Ed's wife, and that is Naomi, homemade soba. She, of course, is from Japan and has a lot of knowledge of the traditional things, so she will be showing us how to make homemade soba and also a recipe, soba, buckwheat. Soba is buckwheat flour in this case. So the soba noodles and also a recipe of cold soba noodles, cold buckwheat flour noodles for the summer.
Yeah. Then at 11, we have a health panel. We'll convene and talk. Participants include Kathy Albanese, who's a macrobiotic teacher and author and professor of religion from Santa Barbara in California. Vern Verona, who's a longtime counselor, teacher, chef, and comedian. Also a very funny guy. And Dr. Martha Cottrell. So they'll be each making a very brief presentation on some of the new dimensions in health, but also mostly taking your questions and discussions. So this would be a great panel to talk about COVID, vaccines, and any of the current pandemic-related topics, as well as any personal health concerns or societal trends.
All right, great. And of course, some of these private questions you may also be able to ask during the open discussion sessions, because both Donna is very well versed as well as Judy and Larry, they can give you very good perspectives as well. But then in the afternoon, we will actually not have an open discussion session on Sunday at lunch. We will give everybody some peace and quiet before another busy afternoon. And the afternoon will highlight Anna Ashleyman, who has been a chef at the Kushi Institute and, is also a private chef. Is simply an excellent cook, well-known, famous for her wonderful desserts, also at previous summer conferences. But her descent is part Lebanese, so she will be talking about, or she will be showing us actually how to make a variety of hummus and sesame bread, basically Middle Eastern cooking, but the very traditional style, and how to make it right, and not just some mediocre hummus, but something that's really good.
Yeah. Then at 4 o'clock, what we call the Gala begins. And if we were meeting in person, as we have for several years now at Eastover, which is our new home here in the Berkshires. It's a beautiful resort in Lenox. We then have the Michokushi Peace Prize Award Ceremony. And this year, we are giving the Peace Prize, as we said, to Virginia Harper, and then also to Tom Monte, who is also a noted macrobiotic teacher, counselor, and a best-selling author. So that they'll each be presenting about a half-hour speech, and then there'll be a Q&A session, so you can ask some questions. Well, we've invited all of the previous recipients of the Peace Prize to be present as well, just to introduce them. So we may have 4 or 5 other friends there. And then following that, immediately at approximately 5:30, we've added a tribute to our longtime dear colleague, Warren Kramer, who was scheduled to participate in this conference. He has done so for virtually every year for the last 20 years. But very unfortunately, he passed away recently. And so we're putting together a little tribute. And we have several invited guests, including Denny Waxman and Kathy Albanese and others who will be saying a few words, and we'll be inviting too from participants. Many of you may know Warren from his classes, and because he traveled all over the country tirelessly. So that will be from around 5:30 to 6. And then Bettina, you want to talk a little bit about the auction?
Yeah, and then that will be followed by our auction. Of course, Planetary Health is doing many wonderful projects. And so we are, you may have seen the auction items in some of the emails that we sent around. Many wonderful sessions and gifts that are available that you may, you know, that's what do you call it, auction for, that you may bid for, and you may get at a much better price. And so they are wonderful in what you receive, but also wonderful in what Planetary Health will receive, and is able to, do other projects that are helping in this world, including, of course, the Spirit of Rice project, which Sherry will talk about, but also many other educational projects, many consultations, research projects, the diabetes project, and things like that.
Yeah. And then the conference will conclude with the annual skit. It'll be a brief skit by the conference players, including Sherry Demaris, Jane and Lino Stanchich, my friend Danka, who's right here.
Hello.
And myself and Jeffrey Real. Anyway, we've got a wonderful cast. The skit is called Macro Stan, and it's about a utopian macrobiotic community somewhere in Central Asia among all the other stands, Kazakhstan, Turkestan, Afghanistan. So we hope you enjoy it. It's quite fun.
Wonderful. Okay, let's see. Let's see where we are on time, Alex.
Yeah, we're okay. We're just a little behind.
Okay, so we will go into we will not do the video. I think we will just.
Yeah, just skip the video.
Yeah. So now let's, give me a second here. Okay, so let's in a moment look at a little bit of the 9-star key forecast for the end of the year, or for the end of this 9-star key year, which is a 6 metal year. And while I'm going to talk about 9-star key, I also wish to say that, whatever, of course, happens ever, anytime on this earth is very much influenced by us humans, meaning by the collective field of consciousness, which are all thoughts, words, feelings, actions that I experience by anyone on this earth. And this field of consciousness is influencing us. And of course, we are influencing the collective field of consciousness. And when we are personally feeling a higher resonance, meaning when we're feeling good and concentrating our focus on all that is constructive and positive, that automatically gets deposited into the collective field of consciousness. And of course, by feeling good, I'm not speaking about feeling good at the expense of others or at the expense of exploiting nature or something like that, but experiencing the kind of joy and happiness which automatically lifts everybody up, automatically benefits everyone and everything around us. And we're still having people, where is my, yeah. We're still having people join us now. And we never really realize that when we add our positive energy to this collective field of consciousness, that maybe somebody on the other side of the earth, maybe in China, may start laughing simply because, and maybe that's enough to, prevent a war or something. So it's really important that we do what we can to make ourselves feel good and make everybody else feel good as well. On the other hand, of course, when we allow ourselves to constantly feel fear, or should I say be manipulated by fear, wherever the fear is coming from, some people are being afraid of being jabbed, some people are being afraid of that people are not being jabbed, whatever it may be, but all this kind of fear, or other fears that we have, that of course also goes into the collective consciousness and creates also collectively a low resonance field of collective consciousness. And I'm not saying that fear cannot be useful. Of course, when the tiger is chasing you, or when you're standing in the middle of the road and a car is coming, fear is excellent so that you can, the adrenaline gets you out of the way quickly. So that, the hormones are kicking in so that you can move. But, when the tiger is an illusion and there's really nothing that is immediately threatening, and at the same time the person is pumping out all these fear hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, etc. These of course ultimately weaken the immune system and weaken the body. And on top of that, that kind of fear is also getting deposited in the collective field of consciousness, and that contributes to mass events that will reflect that fear and unpleasant events. So I would say, let's monitor ourselves. Let's monitor where we emotionally stand. So because we are truly intricately involved in what actual events will take place in our world, as much as we are not realizing it. So, but whenever we feel good, whenever we do things that we make us feel good and also make others feel good, it has a positive impact. Positive impact, and so the transformation towards a more shining future can be much more elegant and easy. Whereas if we all feel fear, have a low vibration in the collective field, then we probably may find ourselves in more tribulations. So let's keep in mind to raise our resonance, especially when things are or become strange in our world. And let's also keep in mind and remember who we truly are in the core of our beings, divine beings manifested in physical bodies, beings of light and love. And even when we have wrapped this core up in so much wrapping paper that we have completely forgotten, but we are light and love deep within. And so this year, the year 2021, as I said earlier, is a 6 metal year. The 6 metal is holding the central position of the 9th star key of this system of energies. And in the Far East, 6 metal corresponds with the symbol of heaven, which is also regarded as the origin of the world. And of course, we can see how like the celestial rays and fields that our solar system is traveling through are very much influencing our planet and the solar system as a whole, of course. And the symbol of heaven also means it is an important year to connect with our inner light, remembering that we are divine beings of light and love. And 6 metal also stands for the rays of the sun and the image of the Father. And according to the 5 transformations, or 5 transformation theory, 6 metal is also linked with the energy of autumn and harvest. And the Father energy, of course, is the energy of destiny or future, as compared to Mother energy, which is, of course, in our world connected to origin or past. Of course, we are born from the womb, from the mother, and then we're going towards the Father. So Father energy, energy of the future. So this year is an important gateway for our future as a humanity. Of course, every day, every moment is, but. And like last year, which was also a metal year, but a 7 metal year, there is likely a strong element of karma, or reaping the rewards or reaping what has been sowed in previous years, for good or bad. So the harvest position also means that we have an opportunity to complete unfinished business this year, generally improving physical health, and not only physical health, but also like improving structures like real estate, bridges, etc. And so let me look at this. Where is my... Give me a second here. Okay. So it's a 6 metal year. This is the standard chart. The 5 is in the center, and so the 6 is actually occupying this central house. And this central house can have either very stabilizing energy, as all the energies of the other numbers are like moving towards the center, but it is at the same time also very volatile. Yin can quickly switch to yang, yang to yin, up and down. But in any case, the central position has great impact on everything and everybody. And so then the 9 fire month, this is July, so July is a 9 fire month in a 6 metal year, and of course we have a lot of fires, and here we have a lot of rain. Usually, when it's a fire month or fire year, there can be problems both with fire and the opposite energy, which is water. So both of these can be impacted. But so the 9 fire is in the 5 soil house for this month, and the 9 fire is obviously very bright, active energy. Oftentimes hidden things or information come to light, for better or worse. Heated debates, fiery energy, something suddenly coming out can happen. Of course, entertainment, news, media, film, public events are in focus. And of course, it's summertime on top of that, so there's also that kind of energy. Oops, what just happened? Energy is burning brightly, physically, figuratively, and because the energy is burning so intensely, it can easily also turn into burnout. Things can wear out easily, but 9 fire also means that, like, infectious diseases can spread more rapidly. Again, the spreading, the fieriness energy has that. And also like internet problems, which are, a form of media, cyber attacks, etc. Ransomware can be spreading. All of these are dynamics that are possible and maybe more in focus, as we even hear now. Right now, it's the talk about how China is cyber attacking the U.S. Whether that is truly true or not, I cannot say, but those kind of things definitely are in focus. And then August. August is where is this? 8 soil month in the 6 metal year. So the 8 soil is in the middle. Okay, I am having trouble here getting things in the right position, so there we go. 8 soil is always a tricky number. 8 soil is expect the unexpected. I mean, really challenging dynamics can arise out of the blue like this. But there's a silver lining. At the same time as challenging dynamics may arise, also surprising solutions to existing problems can present themselves just like that. So, either one can be a dynamic that can come up, and any of these changes can be dramatic, and oftentimes they are long lasting, and sometimes, or many times, in regards to ideologies, religion, sciences, like that. And then we go into September. So September is a 7 metal month in a 6 metal year, but the 7 metal number, the 7 is in the central position here. And 7 is generally, not as volatile as the 2 previous months, and so a little bit more stabilizing. And generally this month can be also a little bit more easier in terms of communication, more stabilizing. And metal energy is also a little bit the 7 metal energy, a little bit stabilizing traditionalism. So sometimes there's a tendency to revert to previous ways of doing and being, but also management, organizational skills are in focus, and those kind of things are, doing really well. And just like a 6 metal dynamic, the 7 metal is also associated with harvesting what was sowed in previous months, or years for that matter. Then we go into a double 6 metal. It's a 6 metal month and a 6 metal year. So that should be, very contractive, very condensing energy. And once again, of course, it is a time of harvest, reaping the results of earlier months or years. And so because this is the second month in a row, and then of course in this year also, we might feel the pressure a lot. But it is also, because it is harvest time, a good time to focus, bring order, to complete things. I mean, it's harvest time both in terms of the time of the year and in terms of the energy of the 6 metal month and year. So very good to complete things, to manifest things, to finish things. Also, legal issues maybe in focus more, or something about real estate, housing, banking, financing, and investment. We may hear about those kind of dynamics more in the news, or in general, they may be more in focus. Then November, everybody, this is the standard chart, so everybody will be in their native original house. It feels like everybody can relax a little bit more and let their guard down. And while we let our guard down, at the same time, because of 5 soil energy is, as I said earlier, very volatile, yin switches to yang, yang switches to yin very suddenly, it can be, or may be, also a confrontive time, and very important in this month that we hear really all sides of the story before jumping to conclusions or rushing to pronounce judgment in one thing or another. So, and because this month also very much government, political power, the energy of society at large are in focus. So these are things that, where greater decisions could be made, or where the focus are in those directions. So, but looking at all sides of the picture, not jumping to conclusions like, making prejudgments, that doesn't help. Then December. Now December is for tree, and of course December is not things blooming, but I mean the 4 tree dynamic is like a spring dynamic, very much associated with wind. And wind is, of course, also very much associated because, of course, we breathe where we speak, or we have our air coming through also. So it's very much associated with eloquent speeches, but also commerce, air travel, but also official authority, but also mind control and manipulation. Wind energy generally is associated with sometimes with some form of manipulation, trying to, you're convincing somebody with words instead of really feeling the energy behind it. But being aware of that, but any movements that have started in previous month or earlier will usually develop more quickly in this kind of month, because this is like this energy of spring where everything is spreading rapidly. And the spreading energy is in a way very nice to get together with people and make holiday festivities. But of course, we can also easily get distracted with these holiday festivities and sometimes not too much gets accomplished because, we do this, that, and the other thing, and, there's no focus in this month. But then we go into the 3 tree months, which is also associated with spring, but it's the early spring. So like the first sprouts coming out of the ground. And of course, in the 9th star key, the year ends on February 3rd, and the new year begins on February 4th. So this is the last month of the 6 metal year. And 3 tree, as I said, like new beginnings, like the first sprouts coming out of the ground, very strong, very, like they need a lot of power to get through. But so it's very good for like New Year's resolutions, for new breakthroughs, also for new breakthrough technologies, electronic devices, communication, also individual liberty and equality may be at the center stage this month. And so this month is, the focus is very single-minded and, not spreading everywhere, but much more focused. And so the things can be realized more easily. But because it is associated with spring and liver energy, sometimes if people become too assertive, that can backfire on them and will not do so well. And that will bring me to the end of the 6 metal year, to the general forecast of what is coming up. And Alex will let me stop the share here. And Alex, you have the floor.
Okay. You've shared the screen with me?
You can do screen share now.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right, let me put it onto the slideshow view. Yeah, I'm going to just be talking just for a couple minutes on the 3 major 9-star key cycles, which is the yearly cycle, the 9-year cycle, and the 81-year cycle. As Bettina said, we're in a 6 metal year right now, and many of you know that metal energy corresponds with several organs and functions, principally the lungs and respiration. The COVID pandemic began last year in a 7 metal year and spread all around the world. This year, in many ways, it has gone deeper. New variants and strains have emerged. And that's a very good illustration of the difference between 6 and 7 energy. 7 is a more spreading energy, 6 is a deeper type of energy. So let's hope that next year, 5 soil year, this will be, the pandemic will be over. We'll have to see. But anyway, that's one manifestation of lung energy the last 2 years. Another major one is the Black Lives Matter movement, which was sparked by the death of George Floyd, and the rallying cry, "I cannot breathe," has reverberated all over the world and started social movements, again, related to breathing and respiration. Third manifestation of this respiratory and lung dimension are the wildfires that are now raging around the world, not only here in the United States in the West, but actually in the Amazon rainforest, to some extent in Australia, though they had, I think last year was really horrendous. And right now, Siberia is on fire. It's supposed to be twice as extensive as here in the United States. totally unprecedented, never happened in living memory before. So these are all lung-related manifestations of the 7 and the 6 metal years. Then every 9 years, we go through a 9-year cycle. It began 2018 and will go to 2027. It's governed by two soil. Two soil in the Far Eastern philosophy and medicine corresponds with the mothering energy. And what that means is that matters related to feminine energy, women, girls, will assume center stage during these 9 years. And just a few examples are the Me Too movement that emerged coinciding with this, the election of Kamala Harris as Vice President of the United States, the emergence of Greta Thunberg, the young Scandinavian climate activist, as well as several other young girls who have been very active. The one in Pakistan, I think there's one in Afghanistan. Anyway, they worldwide followings. So this is definitely the 9-year cycle for women's energy and for more equal opportunity and a more fair and just society. Another manifestation to soil, interestingly, is that it is relatively conservative at a cultural and at a political level. And this is manifested in the rise of nationalism all over the world, including authoritarian leaders, such as Donald Trump, Prime Minister Modi in India, President Bolsonaro in Brazil, and many, many others. This is a worldwide trend. And apparently one of the reasons for this, when you connect it with two soil, is it's something like, again, a mother who's overly protective, who is meaning well for her child, but institutes too many rules and regulations so that they feel suppressed. So we can say that these are totalitarian leaders, but we can still look at the bright side, or at least the humanitarian side, that they mean well, but we're adults, we're not children. So this is, I think, probably inappropriate overall. But anyway, that is two soil energy, and will continue for several more years. And then all of this is couched within an 81-year fire cycle, which is governed from 1955 to 2036. So we're almost at the end of this cycle. Began in the early 1950s with the Cold War, with the signal events were the introduction of television, or at least its popular spread, and then also the nuclear arms race. And we've seen many itinerations of fire energy over the last several decades, including industrialization, globalization, spread of chemicals everywhere, and many different epidemics, and then most recently, global warming and climate change. So these are all 9 fire phenomena. Bettina mentioned some of these too. Also, the internet, the whole digital revolution, is a 9 fire manifestation. And as I said, epidemics, terrorism, also the spread of spiritual movements, for good or ill. It means fast spreading energy like fire. And then overall, I think, as many of you have studied, what Micho called the spiral of history is now ending. It is climaxing. And let me get my pointer here. You'll see under here, under nationalism in the 8th house hour quadrant, we're now at 20. This is from approximately 2020 to 2025. Again, this is governed by feminine energy, gender equality all around the world. And then you might say the negative side of nationalism is racial, religious, and ethnic movements. And then at a food level, it's the introduction and spread of ultra-processed food, which in the last few years now comprises a majority of all the food in advanced industrial societies, both among conventional standard American diet eaters, as well as vegans and vegetarians. Half of all the food is ultra processed and unhealthy. So these are what we can see as a nationalist movement. And we're now at the cusp really of moving into the international quadrant here. Again, the dates are very approximate because everything is now converging. So 2025, 2030, anyway, it's all happening at once. But we have an opportunity, actually the pandemic presented an opportunity for global cooperation, for internationalism. I think that's one of the, you might say, the deeper reasons behind the whole pandemic. It's to get the world's people and nations to band together and deal with these kind of things rather than individual sovereign countries. And then, of course, climate change and global warming does not respect borders either. So again, that's going to be the next big push. And there's been a tremendous change with the new administration here and with all of these global international conferences, as well as people's movements now all over the planet. I think everybody is now agreeing that extreme weather events and erratic climatic change is now the #1 concern all over the world. And then a little bit down the road, we're going to be dealing with the issues related to artificial intelligence and autonomous networks that literally may threaten human existence to the extent that we're no longer needed, that computers may decide that we ourselves are a danger to the planet. Anyway, that's a very real possibility, and Micho actually anticipated that almost 50 years ago. So that's just a brief look at kind of what's on the agenda. I don't have time to go into all this, but again, every energy has a rotates during the year and governs different domains in life. And just the one I'll just mention, if you look here under 9 fire, which is in the house of 8 soil, like Bettina said, expect the unexpected, sudden change and transformation. 9 fire. So again, the world is on fire right now. Global warming, epidemics. Well, these are just other domains, but this helps us to understand why this year is just such a year for climate change. Yeah, so I think just in conclusion, we can sum up by saying that the old era is now rapidly fading and a bright new one is emerging, and hopefully will lead to an era of peace, harmony, and sustainability. Global warming and climate change, as well as medical research, are all converging now to force humanity to change and adopt a plant-based diet. The debate is basically over on that score. And governments, medical associations, everybody's now moving toward a plant-based diet. And it's interesting, the American Medical Association, which when Micho first began, classified macrobiotics as the diet that's killing America's children because they were so misinformed, recently adopted a resolution asking the US government to declare meat and dairy food as optional. That's a big change. So those things are happening, but the big question then remains, will the plant-based diet that is now emerging, will it be natural and organic and sustainable, or will it be ultra-processed and gene-edited? That is the big question right now. So anyway, we'll be discussing this further, I think, in our macrobiotic community from now through the 2030s and 2040s and beyond. But anyway, that's just a brief preview of from a larger social perspective. Okay, thank you.
And by the way, Alex, I just saw a excerpt of Elon Musk, a proponent of putting little chips into our brain. So now we have our, iPhone or our whatever, our outside computers But according to him, if we don't become part also technology, we cannot compete with AI, and so we would need to chip ourselves. That is, that was the upshot of that video. I thought that was very interesting because I think Michio also talked at some point a little bit on what, part human, part machine.
Yeah, hybrid bionic person. Yeah, that's definitely coming. Yeah. So whether we survive, that's the big question, and how to survive and how to spread organic and natural.
Right. And so, yeah, let's hope to go back to our natural environment, because that has all, that truly has the energy of soul and the energy, the energy of soul and spirit behind it that is simply not there with machines.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Anyway, that's a perfect segue into our next brief segment with Sherry Demaris, who will be talking about one of our planetary health exciting new projects about sustainable agriculture and balanced cooking. So Sherry, are you there?
okay, Sherry.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can make it bigger. That better?
That's
So
fine.
you can hear me? Okay. So welcome everyone to the conference. I'm really excited to be here. And I know Bettina and Alex have taken a lot of time to plan it really well. So I appreciate them and their efforts. I'm Sherry Lynn Demaris, and I'm going to talk to you about our new project, The Spirit of Rice. So as you know, the future of not only our physical, but mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being depends on cooking and eating whole grains, especially brown rice. And it's, really important for our environment now, as Alex said, leading the way away from factory farms and raising animals, and going towards more sustainable agriculture. So the Spirit of Rice, 1 grain, 10,000 grains is the name of our project. And it's a really interesting fact. Michio used to say that 1 grain, 10,000 grains, but Kristen Elwell, who works with us, sort of clarified that in explaining that when you plant and cultivate 650 seeds in one growing season, those seeds multiply in the next harvest into 24 pounds of rice. And then planted and harvested in the 3rd growing season, the 24 pounds will yield as much as 7 tons of rice. So it's so amazing that in a small piece of land, you can feed so many people. And it's hard to wrap your head around it, but we've been dependent on factory farming and commercial farming for so long, we don't realize that we can eat just out of our backyard. The Spirit of Rice is a project of Planetary Health, which is a nonprofit under Alex Jack and Ed Esco. And it's supported by Eden Foods through the generous contributions of Michael Potter, who's a platinum sponsor of the project. In 2005, I was asked to speak at the Tokyo Veg Fest in Japan. And after my presentation, I went to visit a Shinto shrine in southern Japan and met a Japanese monk. And he taught me about the spirit of rice. We meditated in 4 directions over the field of rice. And he explained that there's a spirit that actually exists in all plants, but especially in rice. And that's why you'll see the shrines throughout Japan. And I remember this experience when I met Kristen Elwell. And Kristen is the co-founder of South River Miso. A lot of you might see his miso jars in Whole Foods markets and have used some of them. He's been growing paddy and dryland on rice for over 30 years in the Northeast section of the United States. So this is a huge, big development because most of us think that it has to be grown in warmer climates. He's also really grown spiritually with the rice, and he really was anxious to talk to me and share these 7 phases of rice growth. So I was really inspired to do the film. So beginning in the fall of 2020, I coordinated a various group. We coordinated with our film crew from my television show, and then I formed a committee of about 10 members. It's Kristen and his wife, Gala. Marley Snyder, you'll see down on the right. She's the main producer and videographer. Ed Esco and Naomi Esco, Alex Jack, Mark Leonis, who I know you've seen some of his articles in Macro Today magazine. Alice Fava, who used to run the center in Canada, the Macrobiotic Center in Canada. Brian Smith, who's fairly new to macrobiotics. He's a student of Ed Esco's and very interested in growing rice. And Jeffrey Reel, who some of you may have remembered from the KI. So there's 7 phases of rice. The first phase we filmed already called break-in dormancy, and that's when the seed is soaked and it begins to germinate, just like when you sprout seeds. Then the seedling phase, where seeds are planted in a growing medium and take about 10 days to sprout. So you'll see this, and this is a contraction that Kristen actually built. And to the right, to the left, you'll see the seedlings, and then to the right, you'll see them beginning to sprout. And you'll notice the length, maybe you can't see in the picture, but the length of the containers is very long because rice has very long roots. So this is the vegetative growth phase where the seedlings are planted in the paddy right after that they grow in those containers. And then there's the reproductive phase where you'll start to see flowers emerge from the plant. Then there's the ripening phase where the flowers grow in panicle and the rice seeds develop. And that's when the birds descend on the rice fields. And then there's the harvest and drying phase where the rice grain seeds heads are ready for harvest, threshing, and hulling. So you might ask, why would we encourage people to grow rice in their backyards and start to get familiar with rice? It's a beautiful plant, and even if you don't have a rice hulling machine, it just brings such great positive energy to your garden. And we're beginning to explore more machinery and usages of rice hullers for individual farmers. Part of the project, Alice Fava is collecting names and addresses of all the organic rice growers in the United States, and also all the websites that an independent grower would need to reference. And we're going to create a directory that we distribute with the film. So some seeds, Kristen does save for the next year's planting. Now, these seeds are really unique. Ed Esco has just put out a book called Light Foods, Eating for Consciousness and Enlightenment. And I just reviewed the book for Macro Today magazine. It's an excellent book. And in it, he really talks about how rice, the whole grains, but especially rice, capture sunlight during the day and cosmic energy at night. He also explains that there's awns, which are little hair-like substances on rice and whole grains. And you can see in the photo on the top, they're very, very tiny, and they collect dew in the evening, which actually comes into the rice grain as milk, and the milk is hardened, and that dew is collecting energy from the cosmos, which Micho used to say was very beneficial. If we ate on rice, that it would stimulate our intuition and our cosmic knowledge of the world. So Kristen uses a seed called Dvorkian rice, which has these awns intact. Most commercial farmers do not grow awned rice. They grow rice without the awns because it's easier to harvest and collect. So other grain, okay, after planting the seeds, we transferred these to the paddy. Now this is Christian's paddy. You'll see his house in the background and his greenhouse to the right. And he's done it two ways. He's filled the paddy first and then dug the holes and put the plants in. But this year he put the plants in first and then flooded the paddy. So he's very lucky that at his farm, the water is pure and fresh and it comes from a close by river. So you'll see lots of frogs and all sorts of wildlife in the paddy. So initially we filled it to 3 inches deep, and later on it goes into 6 inches in depth. And that water helps prevent the weeds from growing in between it. It keeps the rice really nourished. I found out from Ed's book, because at the end of the book, he talks about different farms throughout the United States that use ducks that actually swim in between the rice plants and eat the weeds. But Christian doesn't use ducks, but he does say frogs, salamanders, newts, pollywogs, dragonflies, and even turtles show up. And it was really interesting when we finished planting, already these beautiful hummingbirds came by. So I just know from growing a garden, when you're not using pesticides or commercial fillers or anything, that natural wildlife returns. And that's one of the reasons we want to do this film. So here's some other views of the paddy. The paddy at South River Farm is 34.5 feet in diameter, and it will yield as much as 117 pounds of rice. So if you think that's a lot of rice for a small paddy. There's a rainbow that we captured over the field. And this was really fun. We were up there right after planting, and you could see the moon reflected in the paddy, which was really exciting. So you can actually feel the energy of the rice, and that's what we're trying to capture on the film. And here is what the rice currently looks like now. So also in our film, we want to interview influencers, macrobiotic teachers, experts in sustainability and the environment, and doctors and researchers. Here's Dr. Neil Barnard, who was featured in the film. He was just on my TV show. And we have an exciting bit of news that we did have Christian's rice looked at and by some researchers at University of Delaware at the arsenic levels. And we're finding that they're pretty low or non-existent. So that's going to be highlighted in the film, hopefully. And we also want to show how to grow rice in your backyard so people learn more about it, especially kids. Commercial rice is often seeded by airplanes and harvested by giant combines. And the film will show individuals and families how to seed, plant, and harvest rice on a small and intimate scale. So here Kristen is making up a bucket for me to take home. And that's what it looks like now. So you'll see on the left, the flowers coming out of the rice. This was today. And then this is the bucket. And it's I don't even water it. Every time it rains, it just fills up with water and sits there, and really easy to have at home. We're also going to highlight some delicious cuisine. Naomi has done some nice demonstrations, as well as I have, for how to cook with rice for viewers to see. And then, oops. That was just one of our shots. So we wanted to thank you for watching. The main point of our film is to provide a broad perspective of the physical and spiritual dimensions of growing process of organic brown rice. something that Micho always wanted to highlight in terms of the awns as well. And that we educate and inspire our friends in the macrobiotic community and the world to eat and grow brown rice. So we have some exciting news at the summer conference this year. We'll be offering an awned rice gift box courtesy of Kristen Elwell with 1 pound bag of brown rice from South River Miso, which he definitely just hold. And then rice seeds for planting with instructions on how to do it. And a copy of the Rice Revolution that Alex has written. And there'll be 7 sets available for $100 each. So if you're interested in making a donation, because we still hope to raise money to circulate the film and educate people about the film, you can go to the GoFundMe and just type in the Spirit of Rice film documentary. You have to make sure to write in film documentary. And any donation is appreciated, or you can send a check or money order, and these donations are all tax deductible. So here is our new teaser that I wanted to play for you guys.
One grain, 10,000 grains means that the world gives back so much to all of us that we may not even be aware of.
When we have a tiny little seed in front of us, there's an awful lot there in the seed that we don't see with our eyes. And how to tune into that which we don't see, that's where we might begin.
Rice governs life. Rice is not only something that people eat, but it's the foundation of culture and civilization.
To me, the spirit of rice is healthfulness for us individually, but it really means more than that. If we're healthy individually, that means we can take care of our families. They can be healthy too, our community, and maybe even take care of this small planet that we're sharing together.
Rice has no ethnicity or age or culture. It is a universal human food. So it's open to anyone enjoying it, growing it, and really feeling that spirit of oneness that rice can bring.
You will know your children when you see them. Mommy, you're my mother.
Okay, any questions or anything anybody wants to add? I think a couple people are here that are on the committee. Mark Leonis, I see you. And Brian Smith. And Marley. I wanted to introduce Marley. Just say a couple words, Marley.
You can stop the share, Sherry, then maybe we can see the other people.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Marley just wanted to say hello to everybody. She's been working on this film and was introduced, had taken Ed's course. So she's gotten some background in macrobiotics as she's filming.
And also a lot from producing your show.
Mm-hmm. My
So-
TV.
It's definitely fun and new, and it adds to my excitement of traveling a little bit and learning different cultures and lifestyles. So it's a really fun process, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions about the project?
Thank you, Sherry. I think that was really wonderful. And there's, certainly that can be another topic all on itself, that there's a lot more information that can be talked about, I know. And it's a really wonderful project. So thank you. And of course, for any of you that are also on the fence, there is still time to sign up for the full conference if you wish. And Alex, we wanted to offer a book for anybody who is still joining now.
Yeah, if anybody signs up this evening for the conference, we will give them one of our new books, including one of them is The Spiral of History that I wrote. It's a multi-volume series. Anyway, the first book, and several books are available, but we'll give you the first book in the series, or you can have the choice of Bettina's new cookbook, Golden Dream Cookbook. So just as a slight sweetener, if you sign up this evening or tomorrow morning for the conference. So Bettina, before we conclude, though, we should mention the friends who passed away.
Yes.
Yeah. At our conferences, of course of human events, that there are births and deaths during the year, and we just like to acknowledge a number of the friends who have passed away this past year. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have a special tribute to Warren Kramer, who was kind of like one of our senior faculty for many years. And that will be on Sunday at 5:30 to 6. So we have a separate tribute planned for him. So please join us. Also this year, the number of friends who passed away include Gwen Queston. Do you want to say a little about her, Bettina?
Gwen Queston has been at our summer conferences as a helper and participant for many years. A really, really lovely, lovely woman. I mean, really kind-hearted, in the spirit of service and helping. And so we're really sad that she has left us. And actually another one that I'm relatively close with, another one that has left us, was Michelle Boucher. She lived in the same town as I do. And she was also for a long time at the Kushi Institute, working in the programs office and also helping us with certain events. And she also unexpectedly passed away, Alex.
Yes. Then another friend is Alice Tarbell. Alice was a macrobiotic student in the 80s and the 90s. She was married for a while with Michael Jutras, some of you may know, who's a longtime macrobiotic shiatsu teacher, and she passed away early this summer. So we remember her. She was my assistant in the One Peaceful World Society for several years during the early 1990s. Also, Dana will memorialize her teacher in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, I would like to commemorate Mrs. Pruchova. Is her photo here. She was a main macrobiotic teacher in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, in Middle Europe. And she died in May this year at the age of 93. and she studied with Michokushi, and then she came back to Czech Republic, and she was very brave to spread macrobiotics during the communist era when she was facing imprisonment and lost her job as a result of it, and was followed by secret police. She had a very difficult life, but she taught for more than 30 years. She translated many of Michokushi's books and wrote herself about 20 books on macrobiotics and helped thousands of people. So she was very kind and modest person.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
thank you, Danica. Then another friend that passed away this past year was Gaber Zalante. And Ed, are you still on the program?
I can say something about him.
Yeah, please, Sherry, why don't you?
Yeah, Gabor was in the Philadelphia area, and he would call all the teachers periodically and get them inspired about doing their work. And he was very passionate about rice. He actually, after he passed, one of his students made a big donation to our film because he was so passionate about what we were trying to do with rice. And he was a very unique person. He's very, almost really genius-like. And he worked with the famous architect in Philadelphia University Penn. I forget his name. Anyway, he worked in the office there and rode his bicycle every day. And he was hit tragically on his bicycle. And that's what started him going downhill. But he would call me all the time and talk about the energy of rice and the energy of macrobiotics, and he'd network with all the teachers. So we miss him a lot.
Yeah, he called me often as well. And then Waddy Filer passed away. We just heard that, I think, today. And Gail Stoloff, are you there? She was in the viewing audience at the beginning of this program, but anyway.
I'm here.
Please talk a little bit about Waddy.
I don't know what to say. It's such a big loss. He was 97 years old. He really did pretty great right up until the end, and he always said he would live to be 126, but he only made it to 97. I think a lot of people met him over the years. He got into macrobiotics because his wife got cancer like 40 years ago, and he tried to get her into it, but she would never do it. It's a pretty common example, you know, like she didn't want to change her diet. She would hide candy wrappers from him. He'd find empty candy wrappers all over the place that she'd like eat the candy and then hide the wrappers. And she passed away from the cancer, but Waddy adopted it, and it kept him, you know, like really healthy, vibrant, active, and he loved all of the people so much. I mean, he just loved the macrobiotic community. And when I took the levels, Waddy was like my liaison. I would fly into Hartford Airport. He would pick me up at the airport. He'd bring me up to the Kushi Institute. He would, you know, hang out a little bit. And then he'd go back home. I'd stay for the course, and then he'd come back and get me. And I think it really added to his lifespan to be around all of the young, you know, vibrant macrobiotic people, and all of the energy and all of the education. I think it really helped a lot. Anyway, he died a very happy man because of macrobiotics.
Yes, thank you, Gail. Yeah, one of my abiding memories of Waddy was he was a great dancer.
Yes.
He loved to dance with Aveline at graduation functions and parties and seasonal events. So anyway, he danced.
You know, I met him at the summer conference that was in Vermont.
Oh yeah.
At the college. I forget the name of the college.
Yeah, I forget.
I met him there. He had a woman living with him, cooking for him, because that was one of his big challenges. He loved the food, but he had a really hard time managing his life and cooking, macrobiotically for himself. He did a pretty good job for a, like older bachelor, I have to say. His kitchen was great. But at the, final gala, the party at the end, you all had a live band, and Waddy asked me to dance, and he wanted to do like old-fashioned dancing, not like the way I know how to dance. And I said, I can't, I don't know how to dance that way, like ballroom dancing. And he said, don't worry, I'll show you. And I'll never forget that dance for as long as I live. He was so fantastic, and he led me like I looked like I was the greatest dancer in the world, but it was all Waddy leading me so well. He was a real, gentleman.
Yeah, he was great.
Really, really. I'll miss him forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Then also just this past week, as we mentioned, Sheldon Rice passed away. And is there anyone who'd like to memorialize Sheldon? Anyway,
I can say a lot about Sheldon.
Okay, you probably knew him because he was in Florida for a while. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I met Sheldon and Ginat, it had to be like close to 25 years ago at least. They came through the United States in a camper, in an RV. They stayed at the Kushi Institute for quite a while in their RV. And they visited macrobiotic people all around the country. So they looked me up and found me, and Ginat had breast cancer and I had breast cancer. So we had that in common. And they stayed with us for quite a while with their camper. And then they went on their way. But every year, for years, they came back and visited us. And then I was really lucky because they were doing that macrobiotic conference in Israel for the last several years up until the pandemic. And I went and taught at it the last year. I think it was the last year that they did it before the pandemic. And they took my girlfriend and I on such a great tour of Israel after that conference. And I spent quite a lot of time with Sheldon on that trip, never imagining that it would be the last time, that I saw him. But he was fantastic, lots of fun, extremely positive, very knowledgeable, very active, very intelligent. He made the miso soup at their house every morning. Just a great guy.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anyone else that somebody would like to mention this evening?
Isn't it enough?
I just wanted to say also, I knew Gwen. She worked at the Vanguard company, which is right near my house. So she'd come over for lunch, and we spent a lot of time when we were up at the Kushi summer conference, swimming in the lakes and stuff. And she'd always share, she loved to cook different kinds of breads that she learned from David Briscoe's program. And she'd always bring me, share the loaves of bread. And she was so, like what Bettina said, just so kind, so sweet. I think, she just had a heart of gold.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Anyway, we remember all of these dear friends who passed away, as well as many others, particularly during the COVID pandemic. I think we've all been touched by that, friends, relatives, neighbors, acquaintances, or many people around the world whose lives have touched ours in one way or the other. And I'd just like to conclude this brief memorial tribute with a little quotation from Sojourner Truth, who was the great abolitionist, the African-American woman in the mid-19th century. She lived here in Massachusetts and was extremely active in the struggle against slavery. She said, "I am not going to die. I'm going home like a shooting star." I thought that was a beautiful kind of epitaph. Going home like a shooting star. So anyway, it's a nice sentiment for all of us, I think. All right. So Bettina, do you want to introduce our moderators for the open discussion?
Absolutely. So we have our first moderators tomorrow at lunchtime will be Donna Clifford, who has also written a book. Donna, please say hi, and Mark Leonas as well. Please, Donna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna. Very excited. This is going to be a wonderful conference. We have great lectures, lots of good cooking classes. I'll be with you tomorrow to have a nice discussion group, as well as I'll be speaking on Happy Sleep, I believe, on Friday.
And show your book. You have your book there?
My book. I always have my book. My book is Let's Act Like Rice. You can get this on lulu.com.
Very good. And Mark.
Lots of recipes.
Mark?
Yes, great to be with all old friends, old faces, new faces. I love them. I love the summer conference, always have. And like you, Bettina, it would be lovely the day we can all be together again and be sampling food from all the wonderful cooking that goes on. But in the meanwhile, it's just great that we're all together and able to share new ideas and enjoy each other's company.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Mark. And Judy and Larry, are you still there? Judy and Larry? Yes.
We are here.
Looking forward to it.
Great
Nice
to see you all.
Nice to see everybody.
Wonderful.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have the tributes to
Absolutely.
the people who have passed. Looking forward to the tribute to Warren Kramer this weekend. So very sudden. So other than that, looks like a good schedule. Nice lecturers, nice lectures coming up.
Wonderful teachers.
And yeah, and looking forward to the whole event.
And of course, Judy and Larry have been for many, many years when the Kikuchi Institute was still running. They were running the Way to Health program. And Judy is a survivor of stage 4 lymphoma. Is that right?
Yeah.
30 years now.
30 years now. And so, I mean, she has the heart and soul in that, and she was the heart and soul of those programs, or both of them were the heart and soul of those programs. And it is wonderful to have you here with us, as well as, of course, is Donna and Mark, who are also great supporters. And I appreciate all of you so much. I have to tell you that so much.
Thank you.
And all of you viewers who are here, it's wonderful to see you all.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, anything else? I think this will conclude our session. And, you know, I wish you to have all a wonderful night. And again, you know, if you wish to sign up, let me know. And if you have problem, I mean, I would ask you for any session also to check in at least 5 minutes before the actual start time, but preferably a little bit longer, to make sure that you have the link. If you, for any reason, can't find the link, let me know, but not last minute, because last minute there are so many other things that I have to attend to that it's hard for me to look at the same time at all the emails that are coming in. And especially when I'm presenting myself, it's hard to keep my train of thought and do the other things as well. So I really appreciate if you do have trouble, or try to log in a little bit earlier. And then if you do have trouble, I'll do my best to be of service to you. But I know I'm not going to be perfect, but we're all doing the best that we can. And so we are just looking forward to all these wonderful presentations that I know I always get so much out of them. And thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody. Alex, any last words?
Anyway, we're looking forward to a really exciting conference, and we hope to see you 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. I think the discussion groups are going to be fantastic with our 4 moderators, and really it's been the highlight of the last several conferences because it's open. You can say anything you like, your experiences. You can ask counseling questions. You can take sides on the vaccine issue or whatever you like to do. And so we're really looking forward to having a real exchange of views and a feeling of common community.
And they have been. I mean, so many interesting subjects have come up. So that, yeah, those forums are really, they can be really, really interesting and inspiring, or at least also seeing different perspectives. And
Yes. Okay, so we'll see you again soon. Have a nice night.
Good night, everybody. Take care.